From brokenness to breakthrough, this is Failure into Freedom. I'm Katie Holt Lehrman, a mom, wife, entrepreneur, and survivor, here to share my story of walking away from domestic violence, finding healing through faith, and learning to live free. Each week, we'll talk about resilience, hope, and the truth that no matter your past, you are never too far gone for freedom. This is real. This is raw. This is Failure into Freedom. Let's dive in. Hey friends, welcome back to Failure into Freedom. Before we dive in, I just want to say thank you. Y'all, this little podcast is only 2 months old and it's performing like crazy. The downloads, the charts, the messages from women all over the country, that is not normal, okay? That is God and it is you. You're hungry and you're showing up for healing. You're hungry for truth. You're hungry for freedom. And let's be honest, some of y'all are just nosy, which is fine because I'm a nosy Nelly too. We love it around here. But seriously, your support means everything to me. So before we get started, if you haven't yet, please hit the follow or subscribe button and do me a favor, comment below where you're listening from. It helps the podcast reach other women searching for the very freedom you're walking towards. All right, let's take a deep breath. We're going to dive back into my crazy, wild roller coaster of a story. So last episode, we left off with the mold, losing everything in the house. I was giving birth in the middle of chaos to my second baby. I was living with my parents, and it was just bleh. But that was only one side of the story because there was the legality side of what was going on around the same time as well. And I was in and out of the courtrooms all over the state of Texas too many times. But even in the mess, God was moving the pieces I couldn't see yet. God was preparing a freedom that I didn't even know how to pray for. So we're going to back up just a little bit and we're going to talk about the first time he ever assaulted me in front of my coworker. I think we talked about it in episode 2, if I remember correctly. So that was actually the first time I left. Like I finally left not doing this because he assaulted me in front of my coworker. And in that moment I was humiliated. But something in me finally snapped, not in anger, but in clarity. And clarity is a gift from God. Sometimes it feels like peace, but sometimes it feels like pain. But it is still clarity because it's shedding life on the truth. Life and life on the truth. So while I was at my brother's house living there with them for a couple of months while we were separated, I picked up the phone and called Jones County, where he was on probation. And then I called Ellis County, where he had charges pending from when I was pregnant with our first baby. And I connected the two and I told them everything. I told them that he had assaulted me, that he had possibly pending charges in Bryan, Texas, for family violence and injury to a child. So I just told the truth, and he thought no one would ever know any of this, and that he thought that because this is the crazy thing to me. If someone's on probation here, I don't know how when they get arrested or whatever in another county in the same state that they're not talking. But I guess he knew the system and he knew that they weren't going to they weren't going to talk in a timely manner for it to all catch up. So he thought he was fine. He was golden that whatever, I'm just going to keep this hand doing this and this hand doing this if I just keep them separate. Well, he didn't account for me going and connecting the dots. I didn't know then, but God was using my obedience, my shaky obedience, to start aligning every open case. He was stitching together a path of freedom long before I knew I needed it. So y'all already know this story. We ended up getting back together, but he never let me forget how I quote unquote snitched on him. He held it over me like a weapon. But shame is not from God, exposure is. And God will always expose what tries to destroy you. But the moment that truly shifted everything, if you remember, and I think this was maybe it was episode 2 or episode 3. I can't remember. One of those episodes. After I finally had enough, I called the police on him because he got out of jail, broke into our own house, assaulted me while holding our child, and I called the police. We found out a lot of things that night. He was out of jail for like less than 30 minutes and he was going back. And then we found out that the people he was running with and taking our son to their house was actually a meth house, that they were cooking meth. And yeah, a lot of clarity that night. But the next morning, I had a lot of visitors, and one of them was CPS. And CPS looked at me and said, "Are you planning to get back with him?" And I was like, And I wavered. I didn't want to give a full answer because I didn't know. And she flat out told me, like, look, if you get back with him, if you don't leave him, if you don't divorce him, we will take your children away from you. And that was God saying, daughter, this is your line in the sand. Do not cross this. This is the boundary. Run away. I knew I had to get out, but I also knew I couldn't file for divorce until my daughter was born. So 1 week, she was 1 week old, I walked into my attorney's office and started the process. So I started the process. I let her know that we still had stuff at the house in Bryan College Station. She was like, hey, you need to go remove everything before we file. Um, okay, no big deal. So we went down there. I'm recapping just a little bit because interweaved with what I've already told y'all is this legality side of it. So imagine doing it all at once because it was not fun, let me tell you. uh so we go down there. That's when we discover the molds. We try to figure out what we're going to do. We come back to San Angelo. I tell my attorney what's going on. She's like, I can't file anything until you deal with the house. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to go do this. And I will call you when we're done and you can file. And she was like, sounds great. So while we're in Bryan College Station and we wrapped up mold remediating this house, I can laugh about it now. Trauma. I call her and let her know. I think it was like a Wednesday or Thursday we were wrapping up. And she filed that day. And my ex-husband was served in jail the Friday before Father's Day. And the only reason I know this is because I really hadn't heard from his mother in a while. Like I'd send her pictures of the kids, but we didn't talk. There was like a kind of like a falling out almost. And I think it's because I said on a Facebook post that I was a newly single mom and all of his family were reaching out to her being like, why is Katie saying she's a single mom? Where is he at? What's going on? And it hurt their feelings because they're like, well, why are you saying you're a single mom? And I was like, well, he's locked up. I'm a single mom. Like, this is the life. This is my truth that I'm living. Like, this is my day and day. I have to look at these children. So I just think there was hurt feelings. I wanted to heal loudly and they wanted me to not be so loud in my experience that was going on. And so we hadn't really heard from them much. And then all of a sudden, I knew he got served because my attorney told me he got served, which was the easiest way to serve him out of all the times that I had ever served him. That's another story for another day. So she kept blowing my phone up and I just wouldn't answer it because I knew. And I played dumb. I was just like, oh my gosh, we're camping. We don't have good service. Is everything okay? And I don't remember if she replied back to me or not. I don't know. But clearly they were pissed. or hurt, maybe. I don't know. Especially because in petition the court for divorce and custody, I petitioned to get his rights terminated, his parental rights terminated. They also did discover that our daughter's last name, who was born while he was incarcerated, was my maiden name. They thought she had his last name, and I definitely did not give. Shoot, I didn't even change my name because he lost the marriage certificate like a week after we got married. So I never legally changed my name to his last name, which was a blessing in disguise. But I knew what I was going to do before I had my daughter. So her last name was my maiden name, my name, because my name never changed. And he also wasn't on the birth certificate because he wasn't there. So, but in the state of Texas, paternity is if you're married to someone, regardless, that's your child. That's how the state of Texas says. Anyways, back to the main point of the story. She called, blowing up my phone. I played stupid, and I think that was pretty much it. Like, I just played stupid, and I didn't ever call her back because I was like, no, now it's legal. Like, now I don't have to go through her to communicate with him. I have an attorney, and my attorney can speak on our behalf. That's kind of how I saw it. Um, So that was in June. And before I go into this next section, I kind of skipped over something. So between the time that he got arrested and for the last, like the time when I was like early pregnant, CPS showing at my house, up until like I filed for divorce, I was connecting all these different cases together throughout the state of Texas. And when I was doing that, I was petitioning or I was writing to the ADA or the DA that was prosecuting the case. And I would just let them know, hey, I'm his wife, soon to be ex wife. Here's all the information. Here's the evidence. Here's the different cause numbers or case numbers. He needs to be sentenced the maximum time. Like, clearly, he's a repeat offender. And then I would tell them, like, if you need me to testify, I will. Mind you, and legally a court system cannot subpoena a significant other, as in like a wife or a husband, to testify against each other. The only way they are able to subpoena you is if you tell them, like, you come forth to them saying, yes, I'll testify against them. Well, boy, oh boy, did I open up a can of worms, because once I started connecting all the dots, I was getting served subpoenas left and right. They were showing up at my parents' house serving me with subpoenas that I needed to show up to this court in Jones County, this court in Ellis County, this court in Brazos County, oh God. So, 4 times I got subpoenaed. 4 times. Every single time that I would show up, we would rearrange my mom's schedule so she could go with me to watch the kids or to drive me because I wasn't supposed to be driving. Um, she would take time off of work. We would get a hotel, or we would try to find family to stay with or friends in the area. We even one time had people come and stay with us, like travel with us to stay with the 2 young babies, which I'll tell that story in just a second. Like, oh, and every time I would show up into the city and or that town, and I would get a phone call from the ADA or DA being like, oh, just so you know, we told him that you're testifying and he took a plea deal, so you're good. You don't have to come testify. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? So the last subpoena, though, came when the baby was 2.5 months old. So it was July 2nd. It was July 4th. It was a Friday before July 4th. My mom's friends actually drove in from West Texas to Ellis County, Waxahachie, and they helped watch the babies while my mom took me to court because nothing had come up yet that he wasn't taking a plea deal. So it looked like I was going to have to testify. And the moment I walked into the courthouse, the air was thick, heavy, but spiritual. I get into the courtroom and I'm sitting in the back and he's there. And he keeps looking back, looking at me, looking at me, looking at me. And about 5 minutes before the hearing, the prosecutor on the case came up to me and asked me to go outside to talk with him. And I'm like, sure. And he tells me he took a plea deal when he heard you were here. I was like, of course he did. So I was like, fine, I'm just going to stay here and listen to what he has to say in the court once he pleads out. So we walked back in, and I just wanted to ensure he didn't try to manipulate anything. Like, I wanted to hear it verbatim from his mouth. He pled guilty and was going to be served X amount of time or a fee or whatever. So I kept my head down in the back while listening, but he kept turning around staring at me. So much so that the judge finally said, face forward and quit looking in the back of my courtroom. The judge listed out his consequences and said that he had like I want to say it was like $2,500 fine, something like that. And he responded, y'all will love this. This is how he responded. Yeah, can my mom and dad just call in a credit card number to pay for that? Is that okay? Can we just get that taken care of right now? And right there, I felt the Holy Spirit whisper in my ear, this is who he is, and this is why I'm freeing you. Always looking for someone to bail him out and him never to take full accountability of his actions. So, just a little piece that I think back to this time is God is not intimidated by the chaos. He creates order out of it. And that's exactly what he did. So that was July. And we were in Waxahachie, and we were actually spending time with one of my great cousins, which he was like an uncle to me, his Uncle Waylon. And it's one of the last memories I have of him. And he knew we were there for 4th of July. He asked us to stay, and he spent so much time with my oldest son. Um, oh, my oldest son loved him and took him to go see these animals, and um, Uncle Waylon took him to go buy, I don't even know how much fireworks. He spent a lot of money on fireworks, and he just got in the pool with him and took him on rides. I mean, he spent so much time with my oldest son, and I will forever cherish those memories because unfortunately he's no longer on this earth with us. Um, but anyways, so, another God wink of even in the chaos, he created order out of it and gave me, because my son was too young to remember, but gave me those memories that I have with him. So fast forward, we're going into court cases that include um our divorce. And so it finally gets to the point where we have a trial set because we're not agreeing to anything. The judge does order a half day mediation the day before trial, and if we don't come to a conclusion, we'll go to trial. And this is the following February. So that's how long it takes to like get anything on the books, especially if you're dealing with a freaking convict that's being bopped around all over the country to fight his cases and PDCJ. Good Lord. So mediation was supposed to be the easy route, and it was the furthest from the truth. It was for a half a day to pay my attorney and the mediator because I'm the one that petitioned the court for the divorce. It was like 200 to 2500, 3500, somewhere between there, somewhere between 2500 and 3500. And it was only for 3 hours. It makes me want to throw up. Did not. I should have been an attorney, or maybe I need to go back and become a mediator. I don't know. But so I had my attorney in San Angelo. We were in her office using a mediator that she's used multiple times. Come to find out, they went to church together too, which I thought was a God wink as well. And then we were doing mediation by phone call because my ex-husband was in Brazos County Jail fighting the charges down there. And they got him an attorney based out of Dallas. This poor guy, he had to drive that day from Dallas to Bryan College Station to sit and be with him during this mediation call, right? So when we started, I told the mediator, this is what I want. I want half of the house when it sells. I want him to sign his rights over to the children. I want each of us to take our own debt. And that's it. Boom, done. Mediator was like, all right, let's see what we can work on. He goes into the other room. He's not even gone for 5 minutes. Not even 5 minutes. So maybe we're in this now total 30 minutes, if that. 5 minutes later, the mediator comes back. Yeah, I'm terminating this mediation. What? For why? And he goes, he cussed me out, screamed that he would give you nothing, and refused every single request, as well as said that he wasn't even going to offer anything to you. And then I heard God again in that moment. Daughter, I am taking this to trial because you need the judge to see the truth. So the next morning, again, I feel so bad for his poor attorney because his attorney then had to go from Bryan College Station to San Angelo because we had trial the next morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. And when we walked in, clearly my ex-husband wasn't there. He's still in Brazos County Jail. And the judge is pissed. She's mad. She's like, you knew he had trial. If the mediation fell through, why is he not here? And they're like, oh, well, maybe we can Zoom call it. She's like, no, he needs to be in my court. Is this your first time ever dealing with this? Which I'm pretty sure it was for his poor attorney. I think what my ex-husband and his family thought was, ooh, let me get an attorney from Dallas. He's going to be a badass and going to be great. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. And little did they know that I had been researching my attorney, where to file and everything else for over a year. And I got the biggest, baddest biatch there ever was in Tom Green County. And she was a bulldog and she was mean. And woo, I would not want to be on the other side of that. Anyways, so the judge was not happy with him. So she reset it because she wanted him bench warranted to Tom Green County Jail so he could come to trial for court to testify. So she scheduled it exactly in 1 month later. So in March, this is the crazy thing. It was the Friday before COVID shut the world down. We were the last divorce hearing of pre-COVID. Isn't that crazy? I'll never forget walking in. I know I probably say that 5 billion times, but truly, there's highlights of these things that I'll never forget. He was in an orange jumpsuit with Tom Green County on it. He had chains around his wrists, his waist, and his feet, and 2 guards beside him. It was surreal, it was heartbreaking, but it was justice. My attorney called him to the stand first. Ooh, she drilled him. I think he was up there probably three hours because she had the binder of everything that he had ever done or said, the CPS case, every court, every text message, every card he sent me that he wasn't supposed to, every time he violated the protective order, every single thing. I mean, she had, and she questioned him on everything. But the first question she asked after stating your name was, have you ever been unusually cruel to my client? My head was down, but I looked up when he answered and we locked eyes. He said, yes. And I swear I felt the Holy Spirit wash over me. Truth. There was finally some truth. So after she questioned every little thing about his entire life, essentially for 3 hours, his attorney got to cross-examine him. And I think he flat out said, like, do you just hope that this gets done today? I think that's all he said. Pretty much. It was simple because he even like tried to harass my attorney and be like, well, since we all got great detail of his entire record, there's not any other questions besides, do you want this done today, or something stupid. And so of course he said yes. My attorney, I think, asked him a few more questions on cross examination, and then he was excused from the stand. I can still hear the sound of him walking back in my memory. So then it was my turn to get on the stand. Oh gosh. Yeah. My attorney immediately handed me a copy of my journal. You know, the journal that my best friend, my mom, and my boss mom, told me to write down every incident in the journal to keep a record of it to make sure that I wasn't crazy. Yeah, that journal, fun fact, is admissible in court. So my attorney made a copy of it and asked me questions about specific things that happened on specific days. And I walked the judge through it on a first-hand account. I talked about him grabbing me, kicking me, throwing me, putting the baby behind the car to not let me go to work, throwing my phone on the roof because he didn't want me to call 911. Yeah, the meth that was in the house and him dumping it on the floor not to get caught. I sobbed. Not cute tears. I sobbed. Ugly sobbed. Probably couldn't understand a word I said, sobbed. I cried out every wound he ever inflicted, every moment of fear, every manipulation, every blow. The Bible says in Psalms 56 that God collects our tears in a bottle, and if that is true, which I'm pretty sure he does, he collected the whole dang Red Sea out of my ears. I guarantee you. Out of my ears, out of my eyes. Good Lord, Katie. Out of my eyes. And then after my attorney was done, it was his attorney's time. And he kept asking, I don't know what question he specifically was asking me, but he kept asking me this question like he was trying to trip me up or get me to answer it another way. And I kept answering it the same way. And he didn't like my answer. And so I even said, like, I've answered this question. Can we move on? And the judge came back and was like, yeah, this stands. Like, move on with your questioning or sit down. And then he kept going at it again, but a different way. And I got frustrated. I just remember being like, what are you, he was questioning my testimony. He was questioning what was written in my journal and what I talked about. Which, I mean, yeah, that's his job. But then the judge spoke up and told me hold on one second, Miss Holt. What are you trying to do? And he goes, well, I'm trying to impeach her so her journal gets thrown out. And I've never seen a judge be so irate. She goes, her testimony stands. Move on. You will not be impeaching a victim in my court. God defended me in that courtroom. I felt it. So after I got off the stand, it went into, I think, recess so the judge can deliberate on her standing. Again, I asked for um, the house and or to be paid back because my mother spent probably, I want to say it was like $7,000 to $10,000 in mold remediating that house just in case we were able to get part of it. Because if we didn't mold remediate the house would have probably had to be condemned. So we were trying to be good stewards of the financial investment that was put into the house for me and at least my children when we were living there, and be good stewards of what God granted us through other people. So we asked for part of the house. If we weren't going to get part of the house because his family did pay for it in cash from his family's trust, that we would like to just be reimbursed for the mold remediation. And then I wanted his rights, clearly. Like, I didn't want him to have any access to the children whatsoever whenever he just decided he could get out or when he would get out. And then he gets his debt, I get my debt, I get my car, he gets his truck. That was pretty much it. And we didn't get everything we asked for, but we got enough to secure safety. We got a check reimbursing us for the mold remediation. So I got to hold the title to his truck until the payment was sent. His family got the house after paying us back for the mold remediation. I did get full custody, sole and physical, of the children. I got minimal too, child support. He was required to take anger management classes and some other classes before he could ever petition the court to get access to the children again. But ultimately, he got no access to the children whatsoever. And the protective order for me and the children stood until 2021. So God didn't give me the outcome I ultimately wanted, but He gave me the outcome I needed: protection, separation, and legality. After the court date, my attorney and me went into a little meeting room to just debrief, and I turned to my attorney and I said, I want his rights terminated. And she said, then we go again. We just have to wait 6 months. And I remember thinking, God, I trust you with a timeline, even when it feels way too long. Um, yeah, and then the world shut down from COVID. Legitimately, the next weekend was like spring break, and the world shut down from COVID. So, love that, which prolonged lots of things. And that's another story for another day, because we've got lots of stories to tell. If you're listening and you're caught in your own storm, your own legal battle, your own emotional war, your own spiritual fight, hear me. You do not have to be fearless. You just have to be faithful. God will defend you. God will expose what's destroying you. God will deliver you. And God will not waste your suffering. Isaiah 41:10. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. If this episode hit home, if you're walking through trauma, navigating court, fighting for your kids, or just trying to breathe again, you do not have to heal alone. Come join us inside the Freedom Foundry. It's a safe place to grow, to heal, and to be seen. A sisterhood for your restoration journey. And before you hop off, hit that follow button or subscribe button and comment where you're listening from. The engagement helps this message reach the next woman that needs freedom just as much as you do. Thank y'all so much for listening. This one was a wild episode for sure. And of course, I'll have more wild stories for you next time. Love y'all so much. Bye.